What's the difference between you and someone making 5 times your income? Luck? Genetics? Unfair advantages and connections? Yeah, but also knowledge. And since we can't change those first few things, all we can do then is learn our way into a higher income. Today I'll share the strategies that I've used to increase my income 400% in the last 4 years so that you can do similar things and increase your income really soon. And to be clear, this isn't some cheesy scheme or some online business you have to cash out all your equity in your house to start and risk everything. It's not that. These are strategies that you can implement now at your current job, spending little to no money, mostly just spending time and energy and effort that then pays you back in huge, huge ways. Speaking of high incomes, I'm here on Coronado Island in California. These homes are really expensive. Like a little condo, $2 million. A nice looking house, $7 million. The first step in this process is for you to learn about the current company that you're at, because I think it's easier for you to get a raise at your current company or start adding value there than it is for you to immediately go out and try and seek a different job. So step number 1 is to learn about your own company. Is it growing? Is it stagnant? What's happening there? Also, how have people been promoted in the past? What exactly did they do and how did that happen? Also, find out about how the business makes money. What is it that generates revenue? And importantly for you, who's the decision maker when it comes to pay? Who decides who makes what money? Wow, look at this treehouse. That thing is epic. Best treehouse I've seen on this island for sure. We need this information because it's going to inform us on our strategy. What exactly are we going to do here? If you find out that your business has basically no growth potential, it's not interested in growth, and there's basically no room for a promotion at this point, then you may need to look into other industries or other companies that are growing. But I think that in a lot of cases, it's actually just sort of hidden how that growth happens, or it's hidden where you can get that promotion. So what you need to do is go and find out how. That house is beautiful. Wow. And that leads us to step 2. How do you add value now? Why were you hired for your current job? What exactly is that role? And what do you need to do to fulfill that role really, really well? Specifically, how do you make the company more money? That's why you're there. You are there to add value to that company. So what can you do to maximize the value that you bring? Do not skip this step. This is the most important thing that you need to actively do right now, which is deliver on the promise that you made when you were hired. If you aren't fulfilling your current role well, there's no reason to think about a promotion or a raise. Ooh, they're building a new house down here. Let's go check it out. There, the new big house being built. Wow. Okay, that sounds good in theory, to add more value, to figure out how to do good at your job, to bring the most profit into the company in your current role. But how do we do that? How do you even learn how to do that? Because maybe you think that your role is small, or maybe you think that it's not really clear exactly how you make that money for the company. That leads us to step 3, which is to learn about business in general. Learn how businesses make money. And specifically, how does a business get better? How does a company become more profitable or more efficient? That might sound kind of vague at first, but for me, this was actually a hugely important step. Adding this kind of knowledge gave me the tools that I needed to change what I was doing and also have better conversations with decision makers in my company. So how do you learn this kind of thing? Well, for me, most of this knowledge came from books and a little bit from podcasts. The somewhat annoying thing was that there was no one book that was like the all-encompassing, this is how business works kind of book. I just had to go through and read a bunch of different books and pick up things as I went along. There did seem to be one category though that was the most helpful, and that was books that were written by business leaders. They have a really good view of the total picture of business and what's happening and what they needed to do to make their business successful. And so those were the ones that really stood out to me. A couple of my favorites that really kind of opened my mind to the vastness that is business and what it means to be a business leader is The Ride of a Lifetime by Robert Iger. He was the former head guy at Disney. And then also Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, who is the head guy at Nike. Another great podcast is How I Built This, which is all about entrepreneurs and how they started their business. All of those are coming from the perspective of the person in charge. They are the one who knows the most, so it's great to listen to them and learn from them. Importantly, that also gives you some empathy for the person who's in charge in your own company. So you understand the kind of things that they're going through, the kind of problems that they're solving, and the fires that they're putting out every single day. That place is also going to be massive, and it's right here on the beach. Holy moly. And that leads directly into step number 4, which is to learn about your business specifically. What are the choke points that slow down your business? What companies are your specific competitors and what are they doing better than your company? What made your company so successful in the past And have you lost track of that? And where is there an opportunity that's really easy, and even if it's really small, that's okay, but where could you make some kind of small but noticeable improvement? Answering those kinds of questions are specific opportunities for you to make a difference. Don't repeat my mistake though, because in this process, I wrongfully assumed that I could just fix a lot of the problems. I didn't actually have enough context to fix them well, or to fix them at like a deep level, but I thought at the surface level that I could come in and swoop in and just suggest some changes. Don't do that. That was not helpful. Make sure that you do all the steps preceding this one so that you understand at a deeper level what's going on with your business and what the real problem is, so that you can make a worthwhile suggestion towards a good solution. Step number 5 isn't necessarily the 5th step you need to take in the process. It's one that you can take all along the way, and something that actually took me a lot of practice, and that's take accountability. In the end, you are the decider of your income. Don't turn the video off now. I know that sounds ridiculous, that sounds preposterous, and I hated hearing it in my own company because they would repeat that to me and I'd go, okay, well if I decide, then make it $2 million a year. Like, I can't just pick this. What are you talking about? I don't decide. But it's true. And here's why. In the last few years, I've had to get over and continue to work on some very toxic feelings of entitlement and skewed definitions of fairness during this process. Initially, I took feedback really personally, and I got hurt by it, I did not accept it, and I did not learn anything. Specifically, at one point, I got brought into our VP's office, and I thought I was gonna get a promotion. I was so cocky that I thought, they're calling me in here because I'm doing such a great job, I'm gonna get a raise or a promotion. And as it turns out, that was the literal opposite of the message that they sent to me. They explained that I wasn't doing a terrible job, but I also wasn't doing nearly as good of a job as I thought I was. During the meeting, I thought, okay, I'm clearly not getting a raise here, but maybe I can learn something. Maybe they have some specific feedback for me on my last project or something else that I could have done better. Here, let me listen, let me ask some questions and try and learn from this. Nope, no useful info, nothing I can really apply. All they really said was, we think you need to step up your game. I stormed out of there. I was furious. And in that moment, I said some things that I've come to regret. Not bad enough that I got fired, but I definitely regret saying those things. After that, I spent the next couple of months fuming and smoldering and thinking about what they said, but also listening to a ton of books and trying to understand where I was going wrong. I didn't understand how I could possibly have deserved that meeting, and so I went on a fact-finding mission to find out. What finally dawned on me after weeks and weeks and weeks was that I wasn't doing an objectively incredible job. What unbiased data did I have to prove that I was doing this phenomenal work that I was claiming I was doing, in my own head at least? Why should I expect a raise? I didn't have any real reason. It was like a switch had flipped in my mind. Instead of sitting around and thinking about the things I deserved or the raise that I really wanted, instead I focused on how much I could get done, how much value I could add, how hard I could work. To sum that up, I went from external motivation to internal motivation. In response to that, that same VP who I'd had that meeting with came into my office later. He shuts the door and he says, Brendan, we need to talk. What's going on in your life right now? Is your wife pregnant? Did something happen? But I just said, nope. I thought about what you guys have said and I decided that things needed to change. And he said, okay, well, whatever you're doing, don't stop. The reason that this is such an important step for all of us is that I think a lot of us have those feelings, or at least we focus so much on the feelings that we have of, wow, that must be nice. Someone makes more money than us. Someone lives in a house like these that are behind me. Someone gets to come out here and go to the beach every day. Wow, must be nice. As if some lightning bolt of income has struck them and not us. As if they won some lottery of life that we have no access to and there's nothing we can do about it. Well, that's just not true. The path to accountability is painful, it's not obvious, it's muddy, it's uncommon. People around you will probably not think that you're thinking straight if you decide that you're suddenly accountable for your life and your income, but that's the truth. I think the way that we have to do this is to be blatantly honest with ourselves. We can't pull any punches, and we have to look at things from the perspective of our company and our bosses. What are we really doing to add value here? What are we really outputting, and how much is that worth? I wasn't delivering enough value to earn the $2 million a year that I thought I would just pick out of the air if you said, hey, you're responsible for your own income. You decide what your income is. I had to realize that to make that kind of income, I would need to deliver the kind of value that is worth $2 million. So the onus is on me. It's not on my boss. It's not on the economy. It's not on anybody else. It's my job. If you got to just take one of these steps and focus on it alone, this is the one. this is the one that stands to make you the most money by far. So now that you've learned about your business, you've learned about business in general, you've learned about some opportunities that you have within your own company to make improvements, you've taken accountability for yourself, your income, your own life, the value that you bring. Now comes step number 6, which is talk to the decision maker. You should talk to them about what your goals are, and if you can, specifically in a monetary direction. Now, for some big companies, there's like a structure to this. You could have pay levels, you could have certain things that you have to meet or education requirements you have to hit, but you could ask about those, you could learn about that. But the goal of this conversation is much broader than that. It's not just, if I do X, Y, and Z, can I expect this much money? That's not just the goal. That's a kind of a side goal, but the primary goal is different. Your mission overall here is to develop an understanding with that person you're having the conversation with. This person who's the decision maker for your company didn't come by that position for no reason. They have a deep understanding of what it takes for you to add value there. So because you did all those previous steps and you understand your business and the business in general, you can come armed with some really good questions. But remember to leave your ego at the door, because the fact is that you may still not have quite all the context you need to make specific suggestions on how to improve. So if you ask questions, what you can do is come into it with a potential angle. Hey, I see this as an opportunity for us. I wonder if we could do this and that. Then through the process of asking questions and being a non-ego driven participant in this conversation, you can learn what they think about that too. Maybe your suggestion has been tried and maybe it's failed, so you can go in another direction. But the point is that you're gaining this understanding and you're building rapport with that decision maker. The deeper thing that's happening in that conversation or in those series of conversations with that person is you're going from somebody who is just there to check a box, to collect a paycheck, to get what's theirs, to someone who now cares about the company, someone who understands business, someone who wants the company to succeed and who's willing to go the extra mile to have this kind of conversation, to try and make that happen. Becoming that kind of person in the company positions you to be a leader, positions you to be the one who gets an income increase when the time comes, because now you're an active participant in the company succeeding as a whole. Congratulations, you're now much more than just an employee. You're choosing to be personally accountable for the success of the business, which makes you a partner. And partners get paid a lot more than employees. This next step is the second most difficult one after learning to take accountability, and that's get to work. At this point, and after those conversations, you should be armed with a bunch of new information. You've done all this research, you had conversations with decision makers, with leaders in your company, you've read books, you've listened to podcasts, you've done the work internally to become accountable yourself, and by now you have a pretty clear path of what it takes for your company to go from where it is to more profitable. But that doesn't come easily. Obviously, your company has a bunch of people working for it to try and make that mission happen. And so now you have to be one of the people who puts their head down and gets to work making that a reality. On the deepest levels, because you're now one of these kind of people who does this, and because you're an accountable person, as you take action and as you get to work, you'll learn that there's other skills that you don't yet have that you need to develop. Maybe there's some public speaking that you need to brush up on so that you can make some company initiative happen and communicate effectively to teams. Maybe there's some hard skills that you need to learn as far as processes in your company or new software or something else along those lines, a new skill that you need to pick up so that you can add more value and you can teach other people in the company to add more value as well. The point is that by now you've become the kind of person who makes stuff happen. And those are the most valuable people in a company or in society by far. Okay, as I walk in front of this house, this incredible house, guess how much it's currently listed for? Just take a guess. What do you think? Red brick, giant, right here facing the beach on Coronado Island. What would you value it as? 10 million? 20 million? 40 million bucks, that house. And those are the major steps that you can use to increase your income. But in my own process of doing this, I learned that there's this extra kind of bonus hack. The bonus hack to increase your income is to gain as many useful skills as you can and then apply them across disciplines. And what I mean by that is if you can learn skills that aren't typically that strong in your industry and then apply them to that industry, then all of a sudden you've added this boost of value. Here's some examples. For me, typically in construction, I don't see a whole lot of technology being implemented that well. It's still a pretty basic industry, and for good reason. Building stuff hasn't changed that much in the last 100 years or so. So as it turns out, I'm more tech savvy than the average construction guy, and so I applied those skills to my current role in construction. I learned to use some new software, and I created some tools on my own that help streamline our processes and make the learning curve easier for everyone else who came after me and needed to use that software. Along a similar vein, if you can learn sales and or marketing, then that applies to basically everything. You don't have to be in a sales job job or in a marketing role to learn about those things and add value in your current role. Because those are such foundational elements to business that if you learn those, you can add value doing whatever you're doing. You take an individual skill and you apply it across your discipline into whatever role you're doing, into whatever activity that you're in, and you try and add as much value as possible with that skill. Hey, for fun, I like to give you a secret comment word or comment emoji. So if you enjoy the video, if you learn something new, if you're gonna apply any of this to your own life, then leave me a little emoji that's like a bag of money, or put the phrase bag of money in your comment, because you and I will know that this is a secret comment that you and I understand, but anyone else in the comments will come in and be like, what the heck is this person talking about? Talking about bags of money. I like these, and I'm gonna keep an eye out for them because they are my favorite comments by far. I really hope that these tips are useful for you and they're practical in a real life way. They're not cringy internet money-making tips, because this is real. This is what I've used in my own life to increase my own income, and I think that this video should turn out to be quite a bit different than a lot of these other videos that are online right now on how to increase your income and what product you can buy from some online creator. I'm not selling anything. I want you to get value from this and take these tips away and apply them to your own life totally for free. Part of that means just giving you free resources and making sure that you're equipped to actually go out and do this. And so this video is the next one that I recommend you watching. It's all about what I've learned from specific books and the top 5 books that I would recommend you read if you want to go on this journey with me and to learn how to be more accountable and add more value. So click right here to watch that video now and learn what the best books are.